Battle Bill here with another video, getting some more Season 12 Go Battle League battles, these taking place in the Weather Cup meta. In today's video, we have a submission from a fellow PvPer of the community by the name of Sleight of Ham, and boy does he have the spice pick for some Weather Cup battles in the form of Ludicolo dancing all over the meta. This was one of my favorite things about the Weather Cup meta existing, giving us some PvP use out of mons that we may or may not have been able to use for success in some Go Battle League battles before. It was a little XL filled, but you know what? This gives you something to look forward to in the future to build and work on, because I'm sure Weather Cup will be back again soon. So let's check out these battles. Who knows, this could be a really good team to use for some success in some Weather Cup battles. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. As always, let's jump right into the battle. Get battles. In this first battle, we have a Ludicolo on a Blaziken lead. This looks like a very positive lead because of Ludicolo's water grass typing and the fact that it runs super effective bubble as its fast move. The opponent then safe swaps into a Kingdra, and before he matches their safe swap, he throws a Leaf Storm and dips. Leaf Storm debuffs the attack, I think by 2 stages. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. So you want to throw it, go for major damage, then get the hell out of that matchup. He then swaps into Gyarados because he can deal super effective Dragon Breath damage to the Kingdra, whereas Gyarados will not be taking super effective from the Kingdra. They end up getting the debuff from the Octazooka. He's going to have to commit a shield to keep alignment here. Oh, he decides, he opts not to, because the Gyarados is actually able to survive the Octazooka. That's actually pretty insane. My mistake there. He keeps switch, keeps shield advantage, and he keeps a minimal farm for the Blaziken to get when it comes back in, and he gets off an Aqua Tail. Actually played this perfectly. Most likely going to come back in with the Ludicolo, and then the opponent comes in with another Water Dragon in the form of Palkia. Palkia is running Dragon Tail. He comes in with his Kingdra, essentially going for a full farm down of the Palkia with the Dragon Breaths. This is a Shadow Kingdra dealing some massive damage. The Blaziken comes back in and does not want any parts of the Shadow Kingdra, even with its Octazookas, because they're going to be super effective. They end up getting the debuff. He goes for the Dragon Breath down. The Blaziken's able to complete the counter down, but he still has a shield when his Ludicolo comes back in, and that Blaziken is definitely not at 2 moves, so he's going to be able to bubble down and get a big GG for match number 1. So strong positive lead, and then really well played on the alignment, really overpowered the opponent there. Getting to the next matchup, we have a Ludicolo on a Walrein lead. This is an interesting one because Ludicolo is going to be taking neutral from all the ice damage that Walrein's going to throw, but has access to grass damage in the form of Leaf Storm to do some super effective damage to the Walrein. He does not want to debuff his attack, so he's going for an Ice Beam bait, and it works. Gets the opponent's shield, does not have the debuff himself, can tank another Icicle Spear based on how much damage we saw from the first one. He's most likely going to get outpaced before he gets to his next move, but apparently the opponent decided not to throw. Maybe Ludicolo wins CMP. Don't know. All I know is that Ludicolo is XL, and it's a very thick mon because of it. As you can see, the Icicle Spear damage is not doing all that much. The opponent ends up committing both shields in this matchup, and they go for the powder snow down of his Ludicolo. He has to come in with the Gyarados here, hoping to add up some Dragon Breath damage along with a Crunch, whereas Kingdra would struggle a little bit more because it has built all the way up to an Outrage for any neutral damage against the Walrein. The Walrein spamming out Icicle Spears from the farm down, gets one of the shields back that it had to give up in order to win lead. Gonna go for a Crunch. Will this do enough damage with the Dragon Breath damage that's been happening? And it does not. The Walrein's still alive. Probably decides to not shield here. Gonna go for the 1 shield Kingdra sweep. Walrein has kind of been putting in work. Can Kingdra make up for the amount of work that the Walrein was able to put in? The opponent swaps into a Poliwrath, going to throw a charge move here. Anything it throws here is going to be neutral damage. Ice Punch, Dynamic Punch, or Scald would technically be double resisted. Obviously, they're not going to throw that move. He ends up shielding Ice Punch, going for the Outrage, does huge damage. One-shots the Poliwrath's remaining health. And then they come in with a Swampert, building all the way up to an Earthquake. He gets off his Outrage first. Is this going to one-shot the remaining health of the Swampert? It does. Back-to-back booms. And the Kingdra absolutely pops off to win that match. Getting into the next one, we have a Ludicolo on a Primarina lead. Should be a maybe not the most positive lead, even though you are Grass type going against a Water type. Dealing the resisted bubble damage, has to throw Leaf Storms to land super effective damage, goes for another Ice Beam bait, ends up pulling it off. Can he build up the 2 Leaf Storms before getting charmed down? Not looking like it. The Primarina is going to get to a charge move here. He shields it just so we can get this Leaf Storm off. Now the question becomes, after he throws a Leaf Storm, does he decide to swap out? The opponent doesn't shield the Leaf Storm. He absolutely one-shots, and then they come with a Blaziken, commit to a counter down. But he's got 2 water types in the back, so he's not all that phased by Blaziken coming in. does have to worry about the potential Brave Bird, maybe Brave Bird and dip from the Blaziken. That is exactly what they look like they're going to do. And then they swap into a Poliwrath. He then puts his Kingdra on this and wants to have a repeat of the previous match, landing a potential Outrage on the Poliwrath. He calls a move there, ends up being a Dynamic Punch this time instead of the Ice Punch from the previous opponent. They go for another charge move here, knowing that he is going to shield. They throw a Scald Bait. That's crazy, going for a potential debuff. He's now going for a debuff, throwing his Octazooka at the Poliwrath. They decide not to shield. He does get the debuff. He's most likely not going to survive this move, even with the debuff. They throw another Scald. Why wouldn't they just go for the Dynamic Punch? I don't know. The Blaziken comes back in. He's throwing the Scald at the Blaziken, going to do super effective damage. Gets the opponent's last shield, swaps into the Gyarados. Can he do enough damage with the back-to-back water charge moves? Gets the Blaziken super low, commits the Dragon Breath down, and boom, ends up winning that match. Aren't Scald and Dynamic Punch the same damage? Shouldn't they have thrown that there? Unsure, maybe Dynamic Punch a little bit more. I could be wrong. I don't use Poliwrath often. Getting to this next matchup, has Ludicolo on a Walrein lead, and that's the big thing that's been happening in these matchups. Ludicolo has been popping off in the lead situation, which is allowing his backline to win the matchups that he's been pulling off. Goes straight for the Leaf Storm this time, decides not to Ice Beam bait, and is going to essentially eat some Icicle Spears from the Walrein. Maybe goes for 2 Leaf Storms and tries to get both of his opponent's shields and at least leave this situation, even with a lost lead, but with a 2-0 shield advantage. Going for another one. Will this one shot because the attack is super debuffed? It does not. It does do heavy damage though, considering that Leaf Storm debuffs its own attack literally. That's a lot of heavy damage and just goes to show how massive of a move Leaf Storm is, because after debuff it did that much. He then goes into his Gyarados. The Walrein is staying in, gets the Walrein's last shield on an Aqua Tail. They're really committing here. Their backline must be pretty weak, the Gyarados, if they're deciding to stay in. It's not all that weak. They come in with their own Gyarados. They Dragon Breath down, but he now has a 2 shield to no shield situation here. Has to commit shields to whatever the Gyarados is going to throw, whether it be double resisted Aqua Tail like this bait move is, or neutral crunch because Kingdra is literally his last mon. The Ludicolo is about to go down. The question is, can he essentially Dragon Breath down the Gyarados? I think that ends up being his play here, and he's going to be able to because the Gyarados threw both moves that it did. He's clicking on the Ludicolo, trying to swap out, maybe worried that the Walrein has a move, ends up not swapping out, commits to a huge Dragon Breath down of the Walrein's remaining health. Kingdra just holds on. Outrage almost one-shots at Charizard, comes in with the Ludicolo, going for the bubble down. Is the Charizard at a move? No, the Kingdra's Dragon Breath sneaks through, and he's able to pull the match off with 1 HP. Getting to the next matchup, has what looks like a positive lead, but the Fury Cutters from the Samurott are going to be super effective, and has to watch out for the super effective Mega Horn damage from Samurott. So he's going straight for his big move, throws a Leaf Storm. Boom! The opponent was not expecting that. They were expecting a bait. He one-shots a Samurott. That's actually insane. Now Abomasnow comes in. He's going to take a bunch of neutral damage from whatever charge move the Abomasnow decides to throw. He eats it, swaps, lures out the opponent's last mon, and is sitting in a pretty good situation. He has his Gyarados against their Gyarados, and he can line up his Kingdra against the Abomasnow in the back, taking only neutral damage from the Abomasnow, whereas the Kingdra can deal heavy neutral damage itself back to it. So sitting in a good spot, has equal shielding scenarios, gonna go for an Aqua Tail. Maybe this gets a shield, maybe this takes out the Gyarados, maybe the Abomasnow comes in and farms his Gyarados down. That looks like that's what's about to happen here. Comes in with the Ludicolo, huge play here because he still has energy on it. The Ice Beam will force a shield. Probably going to swap out to the Kingdra as soon as he can. Exactly what he does. Will he shield up the first move? He's letting the first move come through. Ends up being a Weather Ball. Huge call. Could have been an Energy Ball that would have been neutral also, but done more damage and potentially gotten a debuff on the defense. Now, at this point, though, he has to protect against all of the Weather Balls. Will he be able to get off an Octazooka, potentially Dragon Breath down, or maybe get 2 Octazookas off, hoping for a potential debuff? Gets the debuff, gets some lag. Classic Niantic. Oh, no, and this amazing matchup was going to be down to the wire. Literally gets ruined by lag. Super unfortunate. Would have been quite close. Had a shield, would have committed to a Dragon Breath down, and maybe would have been able to farm down with his last mon. I think it was a Ludicolo, so it would have been tough with the bubbles. Either way, into the next match, has another positive lead. The Blaziken swaps out into a Walrein, throws a Leaf Storm, and almost one-shots the Walrein. Going to be able to comfortably keep alignment here after throwing the Leaf Storm at that Walrein. They're going to spam a little bit of damage. He's going for the Dragon Breath down. I doubt the Blaziken comes back in, so we're going to see what their third mon is. Ends up being a Swampert, and this is essentially GG. Gyarados core breaks the heck out of Swampert, Blaziken core. He even goes for the crunch, expecting the opponent not to shield. What a huge play. Opponent throwing a charge move should just be a Hydro Cannon. Will he Dragon Breath all the way down? The opponent swaps into the Blaziken. So he goes for the Aqua Tail once he gets there. The Blaziken's going to commit to a counter down, but is going to be forced to give up shields. But because the Switch Timer's up, he's able to swap into his Ludicolo. Decides to call the neutral Blaze Kick that comes through and may want to go for the bubble down, essentially just sacrificing Ludicolo, letting the Blaziken get off all the energy that it possibly can, and is going to allow the Kingdra to sweep the back line just based on the pure fact that it does very well against both the Blaziken and Swampert. Also, this entire team performs very well against both those mons. Honestly, Ludicolo is doing fantastic in the lead, but this is also like a secondary feature of Shadow Kingdra, which seems to be a pretty insane mon in some Weather Cup battles, and I feel like even an open Ultra Shadow Kingdra can really perform and have a lot of success if you play it right. Getting into the next matchup, we have a Ludicolo on a Tentacruel lead. Definitely a negative lead for the Ludicolo because of the fact that Tentacruel takes neutral from the grass damage, as we saw, and Ludicolo is going to take super effective from the poison damage from the Tentacruel. The opponent then comes in with an Abomasnow. He throws a Crunch, gets the defense debuff, which is huge. Probably going to let this move come through, is exactly what he's going to do. Gyarados almost goes down. Now it gets Powder Snow down. What does he decide to come back in? He decides to come back in with his Ludicolo, essentially going to sacrifice it so the Abomasnow can't get too much more energy. Ludicolo is so thick, completely tanking that Weather Ball that came through there. Probably survives another one based on that. Ends up doing that. Does not want to get Powder Snow down though, so he swaps into his Kingdra. Dragon Breath is down. Can the Kingdra carry the load again for another match? The Tentacruel gets to a move, ends up being an Acid Spray. Huge call by his opponent. They come in with a Creedilly. So now he's going to take a bunch of neutral damage from all the Bullet Seeds, but Creedilly is going to rely heavily on throwing charge moves. That is going to be its win con here. So will he be able to outpace? He already baited once with Octazooka. Will he be able to potentially land an Outrage one way or another? It's not looking very promising. This Creedilly is getting off a lot of Bullet Seeds here, which is generating energy very fast. He ends up double baiting, gonna need to swap and catch, and that's exactly what he does. What a huge play to try and play himself out of this potentially negative situation. The Creedilly stays in. The question is, would it try to swap and catch a move? It does not. It didn't even throw a move to get the Kingdra's last shield. It gets off a neutral Octazooka, able to Dragon Breath down the Tentacruel, and that is GG's for that match. Very well played. Huge swap to really clinch the dub there. Getting into the next one, we have a Ludicolo on a Gyarados lead. Probably going to want to throw Leaf Storm and dip. Oh no, he's deciding to Ice Beam bait. Both moves are going to be neutral, but Leaf Storm's just going to hit so much harder. Ends up getting the Gyarados' shield, so that's huge. It's a bait move because, you know, it doesn't debuff itself, even though it's the exact same energy as Leaf Storm. Gyarados getting to a move here, should be a Crunch. Ends up being a Crunch. Ludicolo tanking it well, going for the Leaf Storm. This will either get the opponent's last shield or one shot. Oh, it doesn't one shot. Almost one shots the Gyarados' health. Then he save swaps into his own Gyarados, and they match with a Blaziken trainer. That is not a counter. Okay, he keeps alignment and keeps a huge shield advantage and has a bunch of health on his Gyarados. So the opponent comes back in with their own Gyarados. Ends up being a Crunch and tanks it easily, does not get debuffed. I'm sorry, I'm flabbergasted, I'm confused. Either way, this match is over, especially after that play. Abomasnow would have been a better answer against the Gyarados for sure, and then Blaziken could have played better against Sleight of Hand's Kingdra in the back, but either way, he has a shield advantage. Now he's just flexing on his opponent, pulls off an amazing catch, trying to 2-shield flex. The opponent decides to undercharge because they're noticing his play and responding and saying, you know what, no trainer, you are giving me those shields. Sleight of Hand says, no, I am not giving you any shield. They get off a goddamn energy ball, going for another charge move, and now Sleight of Hand is forced to shield, and hopefully his overconfidence here and excitement for the dub doesn't cost him. He does not get Powder Snow down. That's huge. I'm gonna get off the Octazooka. This will take out the Abomasnow's remaining health, and that ends up being GG. Is that the final match of the set? That is the final match of the set. Holy Christ, those were some insane battles between both the Ludicolo and the Shadow Kingdra. They seriously both put in an insane amount of work. If you do not have any of these mons, I highly recommend, even though I don't think Shadow Horsey is in Rocket Grunts at this current moment, so hopefully it'll come back soon and we're able to get the Shadow Horsey. I don't remember when it was. I feel like that was such a short amount of time. Either way, highly recommend working on a Kingdra if you don't already have one, and a Ludicolo based on this feature. Sleight of Hand, thank you so much for sending in those battles. I highly enjoyed shoutcasting over them. If you have your own battles, Ultra League Premier Classics coming up, or Open Ultra League, the link for submissions is in the description of this video. But on that note, let me know your thoughts on the battles. As always, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Preach!